The moment their eyes met across the crowded office party, something shifted in the universe. Claire Montgomery, the formidable CEO who struck fear in the hearts of executives twice her age, felt her carefully constructed walls begin to crumble under the gaze of her newest employee, a single father with eyes that seemed to see right through her polished exterior. What she didn't know was that by the end of the night, 3 simple words would escape her lips that would change everything: "No one's looked at me like that in years." But it's what he said next that would leave her breathless. Michael Bennett adjusted his tie nervously as he checked his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. The babysitter had promised she could stay late, but guilt gnawed at him anyway. 6 months into his new job at Montgomery Media, and he was still struggling to balance being both mother and father to 8-year-old Emma while proving himself worthy of the unexpected promotion Claire had given him last month. The promotion that had some of his colleagues whispering behind his back, wondering what exactly the Ice Queen CEO saw in the quiet single dad from accounting. Daddy issues much? Claire overheard one of the marketing executives mutter to another as she passed by the bar. She pretended not to hear, but the words stung more than they should have. At 38, she'd built an empire from the ground up, sacrificing any semblance of a personal life along the way. The corner office with the view of the city skyline was supposed to make up for the empty apartment she returned to each night. The respect of her peers was meant to fill the void left by failed relationships with men who couldn't handle her success. But lately, she'd found herself lingering in Michael's doorway, watching him work with an intensity that both impressed and intrigued her. There was something about the way he spoke about his daughter with such tenderness, yet tackled complex financial projections with razor-sharp precision. Something about the quiet strength in his shoulders as he carried both the weight of single parenthood and professional ambition without complaint. "You look like you could use this," Michael said, appearing suddenly at her side with a glass of champagne. His voice pulled her from her thoughts, and she accepted the drink with a grateful smile. "Is it that obvious I'm counting the minutes until I can escape my own company party?" she asked, surprising herself with the honesty. Michael's laugh was warm, genuine. "Only to someone who's been watching you all night." The admission hung between them, charged with something neither was ready to name. "And why would you be watching me, Mr. Bennett?" Claire asked, one perfectly shaped eyebrow arching upward. "Professional curiosity," he replied with a half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I've been trying to figure out how someone so brilliant at connecting with audiences can seem so alone in a crowded room," she finished for him. Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the noise of the party faded away. Claire felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that terrified and exhilarated her simultaneously. "I should go," Michael said suddenly, breaking the spell. "Emma's babysitter." "Of course," Claire nodded, disappointment washing over her. "Your daughter needs you." "She's not the only one," he said so quietly Claire almost missed it. Before she could respond, he was gone, weaving through the crowd toward the exit. 3 days later, Claire found herself standing outside Michael's modest suburban home, a file of papers clutched in her hand, her flimsy excuse for this completely unprofessional house call. She'd told herself it was urgent that he review these projections before tomorrow's board meeting. She'd convinced herself this couldn't wait until morning. What she hadn't prepared for was the sight of Michael opening the door in faded jeans and a soft gray t-shirt, flour dusting his cheek and the sound of childish laughter floating from somewhere inside. "Ms. Montgomery," he said, surprise evident in his voice. "Is everything okay?" "Claire," she corrected automatically. "And yes, I just needed you to look at these numbers before." She stopped mid-sentence as a small figure appeared behind Michael. "Daddy, the cookies are getting cold," Emma announced, her dark curls bouncing as she tugged at her father's hand. She paused when she noticed Claire. "Are you Daddy's boss? The one he says is scary smart?" Michael's face flushed crimson. "Emma, this is Ms. Montgomery. And what have we said about repeating private conversations?" "That it's not polite," Emma recited, then looked up at Claire with curious eyes. "But you're pretty." "Daddy didn't say you were pretty." Claire felt warmth spread across her cheeks. "Thank you, Emma. That's very kind. Do you want a cookie? Daddy makes the best chocolate chip cookies in the whole world." Before Claire could formulate a professional reason to decline, she found herself being led into the warm, lived-in kitchen by a determined 8-year-old. The file of urgent papers lay forgotten on the entryway table. 2 hours later, Claire sat on Michael's couch, a half-empty glass of wine in her hand, laughing harder than she had in years as he recounted Emma's first day of kindergarten. "So there I am, trying not to cry in front of 25-year-olds while my daughter is practically shoving me out the door," he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "And she looks up at me with this completely serious expression and says, 'Daddy, you can go now. I have business to take care of.'" "She sounds exactly like you in meetings," Claire observed, taking another sip of wine. "God, I hope not. I'm a disaster in meetings. I just hide it well." "You don't give yourself enough credit," Claire said softly. "Everyone respects you. The team would follow you anywhere." Michael's expression grew serious. "Not everyone. Some people think I only got that promotion because," he stopped himself. "Because what?" Claire pressed, though she already knew the answer. "Because you favor me," he admitted, not meeting her eyes. "Or worse." The implication hung heavy between them. Claire set down her wine glass with deliberate care. "Is that what you think?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," Michael answered immediately, finally looking at her. "I think you're the most fair-minded person I've ever met. I think you see potential in people that they don't even see in themselves. Is that all you think I see in you? Potential?" The question escaped before she could stop it. The silence that followed was deafening. Michael's gaze dropped to her lips for the briefest moment before returning to her eyes with an intensity that made her breath catch. "What do you see when you look at me, Claire?" he asked, his voice low. "I see someone who makes me question everything I thought I knew about what I want," she admitted, the walls around her heart crumbling with each word. Michael moved closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "And what do you want?" "Something I can't have," she whispered. "Something that could ruin everything I've built." "Or maybe," he countered, his hand tentatively reaching for hers, "something that could make everything you've built finally mean something." Claire looked down at their intertwined fingers, then back up at his face, the face she'd caught herself studying in meetings, the face that had begun appearing in her dreams. "No one's looked at me like that in years," she confessed, vulnerability lacing her words. Michael's thumb traced gentle circles on her palm as he leaned closer. "Then I'll keep looking," he promised, "until you believe what I see." The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of professional boundaries and growing personal connection. Claire found reasons to work late with Michael on projects. Michael found courage to invite her to Emma's school play. They maintained careful distance at the office, but the electricity between them was becoming impossible to ignore. Then came the Tokyo account, the biggest potential client in the company's history. The board insisted Claire personally oversee the pitch, which meant 2 weeks in Japan. 2 weeks away from the office. 2 weeks away from Michael and the fragile, unnamed thing growing between them. "It's just 2 weeks," Michael reassured her the night before her flight as they shared a quiet dinner at her apartment after Emma had gone to bed at her grandparents'. "We'll hold down the fort until you get back." "It's not the office I'm worried about," Claire admitted, pushing her barely touched food around her plate. Michael reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "What are you worried about?" "That this, whatever this is, won't survive the distance. That you'll realize how complicated getting involved with your boss would be. That Emma loves you already," Michael finished for her. "Almost as much as I," he stopped himself, eyes widening at what he'd nearly confessed. Claire's heart hammered in her chest. "Almost as much as you what?" Before he could answer, Claire's phone rang, the board chairman calling about last-minute details for Tokyo. By the time she finished the call, the moment had passed, and Michael was gathering his coat to leave. "Michael," she called as he reached the door. "When I get back." He turned, hope and fear warring in his expression. "Yes? We should finish this conversation." His smile was soft, tender. "I'll be counting the days." But fate had other plans. 3 days into her Tokyo trip, Claire received the call that would change everything. Montgomery Media was being targeted for hostile takeover by Vertex Industries, a cutthroat conglomerate known for acquiring companies and gutting their workforces. The board was panicking, shareholders were selling, and her CFO had just resigned without notice. "I need you to step in as acting CFO," she told Michael during their midnight call, her voice strained with exhaustion and worry. "There's no one else I trust with this." "Of course," he agreed without hesitation. "But what about Emma? I can't work 18-hour days, Anne. Bring her to the office. Set up a corner for her in the conference room." "Whatever it takes," Claire interrupted. "I need you, Michael. The company needs you." What Claire didn't tell him was that Vertex's CEO, Richard Harmon, was her ex-fiancé, the man who'd walked away when her first company began to succeed, claiming her ambition made her cold and unlovable. The man who'd sworn to one day own everything she built. For the next 10 days, Michael became the company's backbone while Claire fought in Tokyo. He restructured financial projections, rallied nervous employees, and somehow managed to keep Emma's routine as normal as possible, even when normal meant homework at the conference table and bedtime stories in Claire's office. What he didn't know was that Richard had offered Claire a devil's bargain: marry him as planned years ago, and he'd call off the takeover. Refuse, and watch everything she'd built be dismantled piece by piece. "He's bluffing," Michael insisted when she finally confided in him during a late-night video call. "Your company is worth more intact than broken apart." "This isn't about business for him," Claire said, exhaustion evident in the dark circles under her eyes. "It's about proving he was right about me all along." "And what was he right about?" Michael challenged. "That I'd end up alone. That no one could love both me and my ambition." Her voice broke on the last word. Michael's expression hardened with determination. "Then he's never been more wrong about anything in his life." The day Claire returned from Tokyo, the office was in chaos. Vertex representatives were in the building, beginning their assessment. Board members were huddled in emergency session. And Richard Harmon himself stood in Claire's office, examining her awards with smug satisfaction. "I always knew I'd be standing here eventually," he said without turning as she entered. "Though I'd hoped it would be under different circumstances." "Get out of my office," Claire demanded, her voice steady despite the rage coursing through her. Richard turned, his smile cold. "Now, is that any way to talk to your company's new majority shareholder? The board voted this morning." "It's over, Claire." "Not quite," came Michael's voice from the doorway. He entered carrying a thick folder, Emma trailing behind him clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. "The board can't vote on a sale without reviewing all viable alternatives." "Which they haven't done yet." Richard's eyes narrowed. "And you are?" "Michael Bennett. Acting CFO." He stepped forward, placing the folder on Claire's desk. "And I've just secured financing from Westlake Partners to buy back all outstanding shares at 15% above Vertex's offer." Claire stared at him in disbelief. "How did you?" "I called in every favor I had," Michael explained, his eyes never leaving hers. "And I may have mentioned to Westlake that Vertex's CEO has a personal vendetta that's clouding his business judgment." Richard's face flushed with anger. "This is absurd. No one would back this failing company without believing in its leadership." Michael finished for him. "That's where you're wrong. People believe in Claire. Her employees believe in her. I believe in her." He turned to Claire, his expression softening. "And if you'll let me, I'll spend every day proving that someone can love both you and your ambition equally." The boardroom fell silent as Claire processed his words, the public declaration he'd just made in front of her greatest enemy, his daughter, and by extension, the entire company. Richard looked between them, understanding dawning on his face. "So that's how it is," he sneered. The Ice Queen finally melted for the office charity case. Before Claire could respond, a small voice piped up from beside Michael. "My daddy's not a charity case," Emma declared, stepping forward with all the righteous indignation an 8-year-old could muster. "He's the bravest, smartest person in the whole world. And Ms. Claire is the second bravest, smartest person. And they're going to save the company because that's what heroes do." Claire felt something break open inside her chest, something that had been locked away for so long she'd forgotten it existed. She knelt down to Emma's level, taking the little girl's hands in hers. "You're absolutely right, Emma," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "And do you know what else heroes do?" Emma shook her head, eyes wide. "They tell the truth about how they feel, even when it's scary." Claire stood and faced Michael, no longer caring who witnessed this moment. "I love you, Michael Bennett. Your brilliance, your kindness, your dedication to Emma and to this company. All of it." Michael's smile was radiant as he closed the distance between them. "I've been waiting to hear those words since the night you showed up at my door with that file you never once mentioned." "You knew?" Claire asked, laughing through the tears that threatened. "I hoped," he corrected, taking her hand in his. Richard cleared his throat loudly. "This is all very touching, but it doesn't change the fact that you've lost," Claire interrupted, turning to face him with renewed strength. "The board hasn't voted yet. They're waiting for my presentation, which Michael and I will deliver in exactly 30 minutes. And after they see what we've accomplished in our plan for the future, they'll understand why Vertex's offer isn't just inadequate, it's insulting." 3 hours later, Claire stood at the head of the boardroom table, watching as each member voted unanimously to reject Vertex's offer and accept Westlake's financing package instead. Richard stormed out without a word, his takeover dreams shattered. As the boardroom emptied, Michael approached Claire, Emma's hand in his. "So, CEO Montgomery," he said with a playful smile, "what happens now?" Claire looked at the man who had stood beside her when everything was falling apart, and at the little girl who had defended them both with the fierce loyalty only children possess. "Now," she said, taking Emma's other hand so the three of them formed a circle, "we build something new. Together." 6 months later, Montgomery Media had not only recovered but was thriving under its new joint leadership structure. Claire had promoted Michael to permanent CFO, and together they had implemented family-friendly policies that were revolutionizing the industry. On a warm spring evening, Claire sat on a park bench watching Michael push Emma on the swings, her laughter carrying across the playground. She marveled at how completely her life had transformed, how the woman who once defined herself solely by professional achievements now found her greatest joy in these simple moments. Michael caught her watching and smiled that smile that still made her heart skip. He whispered something to Emma, who nodded enthusiastically, and they both walked over to where Claire sat. "Emma has something she wants to ask you," Michael said, giving his daughter an encouraging nod. The little girl took a deep breath, suddenly serious. "Claire, would it be okay if I called you Mom? Not right away if you're not ready, but someday? Because that's what you feel like to me." Claire felt tears spring to her eyes as she pulled Emma into a tight hug. "Nothing in the world would make me happier," she whispered. As Emma ran back to the swings, Michael sat beside Claire, taking her hand in his. "She beat me to the punch," he said with a rueful smile. "I was going to ask you something too." "Oh?" Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I had this whole speech planned about how you changed my life, how you showed me that love and ambition can coexist beautifully, how you've become not just my partner but Emma's hero." He opened the box to reveal a stunning emerald ring. "But maybe the simplest truth is the most powerful. I love you, Claire Montgomery. Will you marry me?" Claire looked from the ring to the man holding it, tears streaming freely down her face now. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes." As Michael slipped the ring onto her finger, Emma came running back, squealing with delight when she saw what was happening. She threw her arms around both of them, creating a family embrace that felt like coming home. "See, Daddy?" Emma said, her eyes bright with happiness. "I told you she'd say yes." Claire laughed through her tears. "You knew about this?" "I helped pick the ring," Emma announced proudly. "Daddy said it had to be as special as you." Later that night, after Emma had fallen asleep, Claire and Michael stood on the balcony of their new home, looking out at the city lights. "A year ago, I thought I had everything figured out," Claire mused, leaning back against Michael's chest as his arms encircled her waist. "Corner office, industry respect, financial security. And now?" Michael asked, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. "Now I know I had it all wrong. Success isn't measured in acquisitions or profit margins. It's measured in moments like these, in finding someone who looks at you like you're their whole world." Michael turned her in his arms so they were face to face. "No one's looked at me like that in years," he quoted her words from that fateful night at the office party. Claire smiled, tracing the contours of his face with her fingertips. "Then I'll keep looking," she promised, "for the rest of our lives." Their story wasn't perfect. There would be challenges ahead, navigating their professional relationship while building a personal one, helping Emma adjust to their blended family, facing the inevitable whispers and judgments from those who wouldn't understand. But they would face it all together, with the strength that comes from finding the person who sees you, truly sees you, and loves you not despite your ambition, but because of the passion that drives you. Because sometimes the greatest love stories don't begin with love at first sight. Sometimes they begin with recognition, the profound understanding that comes when someone finally sees past your carefully constructed walls to the person you've been waiting to become. And sometimes, the most powerful words aren't, "I love you," but the simple promise, "I'll keep looking." If you enjoyed this story of love, ambition, and family, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us all of what truly matters in life. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your country in the comments below and join our growing community of viewers who believe in the power of second chances and unexpected love.